What's up, Michelle Therese here, and this is part two of the interview that I hosted with Arielle London. The first part I've put link in the description and also here. It was a really amazing chat. The video on my bit was a bit blurry, but the chat was amazing. We spoke in length about the abuses that go on in the Canadian and UK mental health system, about the struggles that Ariel's faced in mental health, and also about her book and about all the amazing music and rapping that she's doing. I've put those links in the description. Also, I'm nearly at 1,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate it if you could share this video and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day here on this channel. You'll get a daily dose of motivational videos, honest conversation about the mental health system, and also poetry, writing, and interviews with inspiring people. I do care and I hope to inspire people. And also, once I get to 1,000, I'm going to make all of my ebooks £1 for a week to make sure that everybody can afford them. But yeah, I'll get on with the interview now. Hope you enjoy it. And yeah, click that subscribe and share. All right, thanks. All right, matey.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. I've just had my pie and my shoe collection is growing.
That's beautiful. Those are two great things. Why not,
Yes.
right?
I've got 15 pairs now.
That's awesome. Well, the Adidas ones were really dope, so
Yeah,
congratulations.
they.
Yeah, those are fly.
Yeah. Would you wear them? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the
So
day went
yeah,
well?
yeah, the day went well. Yeah. It's 10 o'clock over here, but
Hmm.
yeah, it went very good. We went shopping. I had something to eat.
Very nice. Awesome.
What about you? What about you?
Yeah, the day was pretty good. Mostly just dealing with a lot of like paperwork type stuff, like emails, that type of thing. It was that one of those type of days. And yeah, now
Mhm.
it's 5 o'clock here, and I'm talking to you, and I'm super excited for part two because part one was such an incredible conversation. So
Yeah.
even if there's a bit of repetition from last time, like it was such a like a rich almost conversation that I think
Mhm.
we can both, and maybe the audience can get a lot out of it, hopefully.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I apologize for the video. It was like you couldn't. It's like squinting to see me. It's like I can't even see who's there.
No worries. I'm really one of the, I'm really like communication is very comes very naturally to me. So even without the visual cues, I was still engaged in stuff with you. I didn't feel like I honestly didn't get off that call and think, if only the video. No, I really got off that call and was like, that was a great conversation. And anytime I've watched it, like although it is blurry, it really doesn't take away from what we're talking about. So like I haven't
Thank
thought
you.
about it once when I've watched it, honestly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Um, Man, I'll mention this magazine just quickly. It's not an endorsement. It's just because I read the magazine myself. It's called Asylum Magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like the name, but they chose it, and it's just a radical mental health magazine, and they are the only magazine that actually say it how it is in this country, because the rest of the magazines won't print stuff, but they do print stuff. They print, a person was locked up for 20 years, or somebody was abused in the hospital. They print stuff like that, and
Yeah.
they take things from all over the world. So I'm sure I'm sure that they'd accept your story as well, because it isn't just about the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually I know that magazine. I think I follow them. They might follow me on Twitter. I'm not sure. But it's red with white writing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely checked them out before. They're great. I might get in touch with them. Thank you. That's a really good tip for sure.
Get in touch with Sonia, because she'll accept anything. I mean, not anything, but she'll accept most things.
Yeah.
She's a very passionate lady. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, great. I will for sure, and I'll mention that you recommended it for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Oh, I thought we froze there for a second.
You're a bit, no, you're going in a bit slow motion, but at least we can see each other.
Awesome. Good. Nice.
So yeah, we spoke a lot about your previous experiences of institutionalization. I mean, just today I was speaking about it online. A lot of people were not believing. They were saying, "No, a crime must have been committed and stuff." And it's like people always jump to that conclusion, like you have to be a really serious criminal to end up in a mental hospital, but that isn't the case, you know?
Yeah. No, there was literally, that was the whole part of the whole point as to why I was so confused about the police presence in my home, was because
Mm,
no crime had been committed. There was no, I had done nothing to, trigger that type of action. So that's why I reacted how I did, because I knew that there was nothing against my name. I knew that there couldn't be. So there was no there. They didn't show me any warrant. They didn't show me anything. They didn't say anything about the suicidal claim. They didn't follow any protocol, like I mentioned the last time. And that's what made me think these people aren't real police. In that moment,
mm,
I thought they're not real because in my mind, police go by protocol. It's all about, procedure and stuff like that. So,
well, they should, but
but,
yeah, they don't.
as I'm coming to learn, a lot of, people with mental health issues are definitely, they're treated with the same, they're, like I said last time, wellness is criminalized. And,
Mm,
it's like, they're not properly trained to necessarily go in for a mental health issue. They're trained for
mm,
worst case scenario type things. They're trained for you to be the aggressor. They're trained for criminal behavior more. And I was not
yeah,
like, I don't, you know what? People can doubt me all they want. It doesn't matter because the truth is on my side. And that's what's so powerful about
yeah,
sharing your story when it's true,
exactly, yeah.
because I find truth can move mountains because the facts will always line up on the side, like, and I think there's also something very powerful, energetically and spiritually when you speak the truth, because it
Mhm.
just, I don't know. I made that commitment to it a long time ago. And I also knew, the reason why I got from one side of insanity to the other was because I knew that going through with whatever my truth was, I was going to go through with that. So, whatever I understood my reality to be that day, because my reality changed on me a million times a day
Mhm.
while I was in the psych ward. The rules changed. First of all, the rules, I'm sure you can relate to the fact that the rules change depending on who is working.
Yep.
The entire
Some,
environment changes depending on who is
yeah.
working. So your reality as a patient literally changes every time there's a shift change.
I mean,
So so to
yeah,
the so
sometimes you get everything, sometimes you're allowed to go in the yard, sometimes you can have this, and then other staff are just, they let you have nothing.
yeah, no, there were some staff. There was a one staff who strip searched me.
Mm,
She didn't bring me down to like when I was naked.
mhm.
But I came in from smoke break, and then she just randomly searched me, and I was like, this is, you can do that, like what, but this is different. No one's ever done that before, and this is beyond when you go through the nursing station and you give back, your cigarettes, your lighter, whatever you have.
Mm,
So yeah, but I came to expect, okay, when this nurse is working, when she's in charge, I might be, expect the unexpected. And she
yeah,
actually, that one, uh every single time she would walk back into the nursing station, she would slam the door. And it was like, how it's like the door isn't cut in half because the top half is
mm,
for giving pills. So
yeah,
so she would slam the door, and it was a heavy door, and it would just every single time, like, and I think I even asked her if she could please like close it, because it was every time she was in and out
yeah.
and in and out. um
It's just control, though, isn't it? Like it's
yeah,
tactics. Like I've said this before. Like I've said, the word microcosm. because they are their own little microcosms. Like nobody, it's like their own little worlds, and
Yeah.
it's like a bit like prisons. Do you know what I mean? Like they make the rules. You don't have a say at all.
No.
You know, people, like I said, have people get sectioned for years and years and get forgotten about in the system because they just make lies up in the notes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For the people watching this the first time, do you want to, briefly go over, why you was put in the hospital and what was said about you?
Sure. I went into it in quite a bit of detail last time, so I'll kind of try and give like a bit of an abbreviated version. But basically, to make a long story short,
Hmm.
I okay, so in 2012, I was going through a period where I was kind of transforming from academic to creative. And I was
Hmm.
becoming an artist, and I had this whole artistic awakening. I got an apartment in an artistic neighborhood in Montreal, and I started writing my first book. I was singing regularly. I started rapping during that time, and I shared a lot of this discovery. I shared a lot of it online because I
Hmm.
found it fascinating. Like I was literally capturing this evolution of myself from a very specific type of person to a different type of person, and in the process of making that change, a lot of people didn't necessarily like what they saw because, first of all, what they had seen from me beforehand was kind of more publicly was more, I guess, in certain ways, a more like straight and narrow type person. But what they were seeing from me now was, a lot more expression, a lot more things that were definitely up for interpretation, a lot more kind of like, you know, uh, rebellious, let's say, behavior. I would put up videos of me listening to Tupac. I would have other rap, music, whatever. And,
There's
they
nothing wrong with Tupac.
uh,
Rest in peace, Tupac.
yeah, rest in peace, Tupac. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so I was basically going through this whole, change, and my inner circle kind of they spoke about me behind my back, and they, which over the years, different people from my inner circle confided in me and told me kind of little bits and pieces of what was happening at the time. And
Hmm.
ultimately, I ended up getting into a disagreement with one of them, which prompted him to call the authorities and say that I was suicidal when I was not.
Hmm.
And the claims that I was suicidal were based off of supposedly two things. One was a short video that was 6 seconds long where I'm putting on lipstick, and the other one is, and it was actually it was based off of a Beyonce video, so it had nothing to
Mm.
do with what the people said it did. And anyways, and the second thing was supposedly a Facebook status that of my
Mm.
1,000 friends on Facebook at the time, no one ever said they saw. I didn't see
Mm.
it. They didn't. No one ever confronted me and said, "Hey, I saw that. On May 15th, 2012, you said like." Because basically, what they claimed was that there was this Facebook status that said that I would be dead within a few hours, which to me sounds more like a threat than a suicide. Like, but
Yeah.
at the same time, no one's seen this. Like, I've never seen this Facebook status. So anyways, that prompted the next thing I know, the person that I had been arguing with showed up at my home, and I locked my door downstairs. I went upstairs, locked my door, came inside, locked that door, went into my bedroom, locked the heavy duty latch. And for the people who aren't listening, last time there was a recording studio in my apartment before, so it had a window built in from the bedroom to the main room, and I was
Hmm.
blasting music. And the next thing I know, there's police standing in my home, and two officers, one woman, one man, and they said, "Come with us." And they kept repeating the words, "Come with us," with no explanation, with no, without presenting their identification, without telling me why they were
Mm.
there. Just come with us. I immediately thought these people are in costume. They're not real police officers. So I was not cooperative. Um,
Hmm.
so I ran to the computer to tweet for help. And the next thing I know, an axe comes out through my bedroom door. At that point, I jumped back. Um, I knew that once I saw the axe, I knew that whoever these people were, they're about to try and like extract me from my home, because nobody, or worse,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody brings an axe to a party unless they mean serious business. So,
Yeah.
anyways, they axed through my door. They came into the bedroom. They we had very minimal conversation. They circled me, and then they enclosed on me. There was a fight some hits in different directions. I was
Mm-hmm.
subdued, strapped down to a board, and then carried out of my bedroom, my apartment, down to the street, and where there was a whole bunch of neighbors and a couple people I knew were there. And they put me in the back of the ambulance, which is when I calmed down a little bit when I saw the ambulance, because I knew at least to take them at their word that they were real officers, because the chances of them being in costume and this and that and having a fake ambulance were very low.
Yeah.
And it was in the ambulance that they then explained to me, well, actually they didn't explain. I asked, I said, where are you
Mm.
taking me? And the officer said, to the hospital. Someone called and said, you're suicidal, and then he went back to typing on his BlackBerry.
It's what I can say to that is, I mean, it's the police here. I mean, they're not trained either. They just turn up, and I mean, let's say, I had concerns for somebody. It's kind of different because sometimes they say, "Oh, sorry, we're not mental health trained," and put the phone down. And then sometimes they do turn up and they'll just kick your door in and take you away. And there isn't any, "Are you okay? How are you feeling?" It's a case of handcuffs on, that's it.
Yeah. I've had, because I've been institutionalized many times, I was in and out of the hospital. Once they had me on the medication, it was, I
Mm.
was just, I would take it, I wouldn't take it for years. And I was in and out of the hospital, and the trauma from the hospital didn't help my PTSD. And it was just
Obviously,
it was
yeah.
this horrific cycle of relapsing, because I was going on the medication, and then at a certain point I was stopping the medication, and anyways, so through that process, there was different times with different officers, and not every time that didn't happen every time, right? Like the fight, that whole thing didn't happen every time, but um you know I will say that, like I mentioned last time, they really do need a team of mental health responders to go in first.
Mhm.
That is really what I cannot stress that enough. That is one of the most important things. They need a team of people not known to escalate certain situations, because
Mhm.
the way I see it, the police are more there to they're supposed to be there to serve. They're there to serve and protect, right? Um, that's what they're supposed. That's the stated function. But in turn, when it comes to, there's such a wide range of things that people pick up the phone and call 911 for. That if it was just, if some of those responsibilities were just relayed to different groups, like and community groups, and different sections, and it didn't go straight to the police. If
Mhm.
officers weren't dispatched right away in these instances, I think honestly, the amount of people in hospitals would be so much lower. People's trauma would be so much lower. The police
Mhm.
caseload would be so much lower. It just makes sense in my head to have this. And I don't think I don't think it's fair. It's not fair to people both in the mental health community, but it's also not fair to anybody outside of it, technically, because
It's
yeah.
it's not fair for the police either, and I'll just
Yeah.
want to say to Trippy Trips who commented, yeah, I'm sorry you've been through similar, and yeah, the police they shouldn't be as heavily as involved as they are. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's this same, I think I mentioned it last time, this Serenity Integrated Mentoring,
Yeah,
and
you
it's
did.
got 150,000 signatures, I think, now. Um, it's getting to the stage now that suicide attempts in this country are illegal.
Yeah.
Because if, let's say, somebody attempts suicide or self harms 2 or 3 times, they get put on a sim list, and that means that if they do it, then they go to jail.
It's
That's it. That's
there's
evil.
no logic to it, and honestly, there's a lot of evil behind a policy like that. For something to have
Yeah, it
gotten
is.
to the point where it's, you know, it's being put into actual action, and it's in policy, people have to have signed off on it to for it to get
Yeah,
to
they
that
did
point.
this. People don't realize how right wing this UK government is. Like, it's Margaret Thatcher. That is light compared to what we have now. Like, this government don't give a fuck about the mental health system. Like, seriously, they cut benefits, they cut housing. Everything's going up. Like, most people have to work two jobs just to afford housing,
Yeah.
and to afford mental health care, you have to pay for it now. Not all of it, but yeah, it's getting to that stage.
Yeah.
You know, I had a friend who was sexually assaulted, unfortunately, about a year ago, and she had to wait 8 months, to get counselling. And I think she got 8 weeks, or she might have had 3 months worth, and that was that.
Yeah, I that's actually very similar to what happened to me when I was sexually assaulted in 2009 by a stranger in a club, and that actually triggered my PTSD. And I was given, I believe it was 10 sessions with and it was they were actually very, very high sessions. I saw the hearts. Thank you. Yeah, no, I only had 10 counseling sessions for that, for such a huge event. It triggered PTSD. My brain, I remember
Mhm.
after that man did that to me in the club, I felt my brain change. I felt it
Mhm.
speed up. I felt my mind start going like this. I felt, the flashbacks kind of came more and more with time, I'd say.
Mhm.
But right away, I remember being on the treadmill at one of my first apartments. And I was on the phone with a friend, and I remember trying to explain to her, how my mind was changing and how scared I was, and like how I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know what to do. And this was before I received my PTSD diagnosis, and this was before I started
Mhm.
the counseling sessions. And she felt helpless. She couldn't do anything. At the time.
It does change your mind. People don't understand, like we touched on before, like the extent of trauma.
Yeah,
And I've got a request. I don't know what that is. Nope. I don't know who you are. Not You're not requesting to join. And it's like people don't want to actually know the reasons behind it. Like, we talked about it before. Like, when you're in the mental hospital, they don't care about the reasons. It's just like, right, you want all these pills, and don't tell me about the side effects.
yeah, yeah. Don't tell you about the side effects. Don't tell me about the trauma. But what we're gonna do, in fact, don't tell me anything. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna listen to absolutely everything everyone else outside of your life says about you. So your word, the second you get labeled with a mental health ailment that is severe enough, as soon as you get labeled with that mental health, as soon as you get lumped into that category, your testimony about yourself becomes null. It becomes nothing, zero. It doesn't exist. It's like the same second your human rights go up in flames, your ability to testify on your own behalf is gone. Everyone else around you becomes the authority on not only what you do, but what you think, how you act, where you go, about everything about you, whether they've been present in your life in large ways, or if they've just been observing from a distance. It doesn't matter. If they have
They
some
did.
sort of claim of a relationship to you, their word
It's
becomes gospel.
it's like Chinese whispers, because when I was in a hospital as a child, they made stuff up about my father, and I'm not going to go into what they said on this, but they made stuff up that wasn't true. They said stuff like, "Oh well," all I'm going to say is I'm going to imply they wanted a reason for it. They wanted a reason why I was self-harming. They wanted a reason why I turned out like that. So they were starting to make allegations, and they're not
Yeah,
true. And it's ended up in the psychiatric report, and that affected my dad as well, because none of that was
of
true.
course. Yeah,
They said he was an alcoholic. They said he was a drug user and stuff, and that isn't the case.
yeah. No, they
And they called me a psychopath.
I remember the time I recognized that the gloves were off between me and the psych ward staff, especially
Mm-hmm.
when they were willing to lie in front of the judge. That's when
Yeah.
because it was so, like, I think I don't know if I mentioned it in the last one, but they the um, the psychiatrist, the head psychiatrist, he said that I said that I was married to Jay-Z, and I had clearly said that I was married to J. Cole. Like, I'm not married to J. Cole. I'm not married to Jay-Z. Beyonce's married to Jay-Z. The whole world, whether you're in this reality or not in this reality, knows that Jay-Z is married to Beyonce. I never said I was married to Jay-Z, but they
I'm
couldn't.
married to I'm married to Anne Hathaway. Oh yeah.
And they couldn't, but it didn't match the narrative they were trying to build about me to say J.
Mm,
Cole. The Jay-Z thing fit better. More people would recognize Jay-Z at that time. This was 10 years ago. J. Cole wasn't as big as he is
mhm.
today, and he was just kind of like rising in fame. And the judge wouldn't have necessarily known who that was, but to hear that I was married to Jay-Z was definitely like, oh, she's something's off, because she said I know him. So but when they said that, I just remember looking at him being like, dude, I literally say it every day. Like, how, like, why are you lying? And then another thing
Mm.
that I found interesting from your video, when you said that they used the word inappropriate.
It makes me
Oh
laugh,
my,
honestly.
they use that word so often, but
Not
another
allowed anything. The music was censored. Sorry to interrupt. The music was censored. I mean, you weren't allowed to listen to rap music very much when I was in the hospital. They said, oh, that's got swear words in it, or they said bitch, or they're talking about escaping. So it was everything was censored. Like I said, you wasn't allowed anything political.
yeah,
And I said, like, knowledge is power. So if you starve someone of the truth, they're going to start to think, well, all this, what's happening all around me is normal. So it is,
yeah,
it's brainwashing. It's brainwashing.
yeah,
You've studied psychology, you know it. Yeah, it's brainwashing. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's the whole process is definitely it's conditioning in kind of some of the worst ways. Like the way it's like you have to ask for juice, you have to ask if you can do this, you have to ask, for a while when
Mm.
I got out of the hospital, I was asking people certain things, and then I was like, why am I asking this person permission for this? Why am I asking this person that? I started realizing, this is from then. This,
Mhm.
you have to like, you have to remind yourself that you're not in this environment. But the problem is, the hospital is so traumatic and they really do embed their rules into you so well that
Yeah.
it has an effect, and you're then you're trying to figure things out for so long afterwards. You're trying to make sense of that experience, which is supposed to be the experience to help you make sense of this experience. So
I mean, for years, I mean, I wasn't. You went in the hospital I was in as a kid. You wasn't allowed like smartphones like this,
mhm,
and you could use the phone, but you had the staff like listen, like it was a normal phone,
yeah,
and but they had to like check it and everything first. Um, so when I first got a smartphone, like I used to sometimes like when I was at my dad's house, I used to ask permission to leave the room. I used to ask permission, like, oh, is it okay if I ring? And my dad was like, you don't need to keep asking permission.
yeah,
But like it's drilled in.
yeah,
And even now, it sometimes slips out. Like when I was out today, I was about to say, I'm just going to do this. Is that all right? And it's like, nope, you don't need to ask.
yeah, 100%. There's
I
so many
think,
things, like, even
mm,
I think we touched on it the last time too, how, or I touched on it in the documentary, how smiling is practically illegal in there. So
contraband.
every time I have like a real genuine smile, or I'm laughing, or I'm enjoying myself and I'm just having joy, I feel, I let myself revel in that so much, because
Mm,
and I enjoy it 10 times more, because for so long it was stolen from me, and I was told that's
exactly.
illegal, and
Mhm.
I remember literally, like, there was some sort of big something happened. I can't remember what it was. There was some sort of ruckus in the ward. And this woman was working, and I was smiling at something, or I remember I smiled, and then I'm pretty sure, I don't like, I'm 90% certain this is what happened. I know that she threatened me with a punishment. I don't know if 100% if it was a code white, but I know that it was
Mm.
not, it was like, it was a severe punishment. And I was like, what did I even do? And she couldn't give me a response. But you know,
They just like to they just like to control. Like that's why I'm, making these videos and speaking to as many people as possible because people don't believe it if it's just like one person saying, "Oh, this happened to me." But if we get loads and loads of people like to talk about it, people are going to start to realize, hang on a minute, this shit goes on, you know?
I think so. Well, there's that. There's the part where it's like better in numbers, and it's also like there's this is cross continental, and the stories are also similar. You know, this stuff is institutional. This stuff is global. I remember seeing a documentary on, I believe it was either Al Jazeera or Vice, and this was like
Hmm.
5, 6 years ago, and it was on mental wards in India, and I just remember seeing the state of them there, and there were so many similarities. There were definitely differences, but there were a lot of
Hmm.
similarities. And you know, in terms of in terms of everywhere I've been, I'd say that the wellness experience is so enmeshed with criminalization, you know,
Yeah.
that it's not and there's no, there's no or barely any information, or or informing the patient about their rights. And
Mm.
human rights are so powerful in that situation because, first of all, they still exist, right? You can, in any situation, like, someone can violate your rights, but in theory they're still there, and they can,
These,
and yeah. So if the patient
yeah.
just, and the thing about human rights is they give you so much confidence because they allow you to know what the standards of behavior that you're entitled to as a consequence of being a human being. Just for existing, you are entitled to a certain level of treatment. And in the psych ward, they just completely obliterate that
Mm.
entire, it's like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights just goes like, it incinerates, it just goes up in flames. And that that's not right.
I think it was on about Article 19 as well. I mean, it's yeah, there's nothing. I mean, what's scary in the UK is that, like I said, they fiddle with the notes. They say what's not real, and it's like when you get these tribunals, these meetings where the doctor's supposed to make a decision whether you should be there. They just, like I said in my previous video, they just make phony reasons of like, oh, she's being aggressive, or she's not doing this, or she's not taking a medication, and that's enough because these people have never seen you before, so they're going to
Yeah.
believe the doctor over the patient,
Yeah.
and there isn't anything, and it's yeah, it's scary. And like I said, I'm sorry that happened to you, but you've come out the end of it now, and you're a very talented singer as well and a writer. I've not finished your book yet, but I'm nearly there.
Awesome.
Um,
Love it.
and a musician and an artist. You do everything.
Yeah, I do. And it really, I do, like I said last time, I do everything that I love. And my bag just fell off. That was very random. But
What
I do,
what happened there?
my bag that I use for walks, like my fanny pack, just fell off a chair, like randomly. I don't know why. But anyways, spirits are telling us they're with us. I'm just,
Yes.
maybe. But no, sorry, actually got distracted by by what was the question again?
No, I was just praising your music. I was just praising all the talent you've got.
Oh, right. And I was about to say that, you know, I do everything that I have an affinity for. I do everything that I love to do, and everything that, gives back to me. Like,
Mhm.
music is just this beautiful thing that, I love the whole process. I love everything about it. And I just realized today, I was like, you know what? For so long, music has been this like therapy for me. But it's also,
Mhm.
not only is it therapy, now it's like, as I grow as an artist, it becomes, and like the tools I use are more professional. Now I produce my own stuff. the studio that I go to is like a better studio, you know, things like that. As I grow as an artist, I just realized that like I'm so in control of my sound and I'm so in control of my art. And, you know, it really is this mixture of like work and art, you know, and I hope
Mhm.
that one day, you know, I really hope that one day I can turn it into like full time, or at
Mhm.
least more part time than it is right now.
Mhm.
But you know, I will, like we discussed last time, I'll be making music for a very long time. You know, as long as it's fun, as long as it's enjoyable, as long as it's therapeutic, you know, I'll be doing it. But at the same time, you know, before I switched to writing lyrics, I wrote
Mhm.
poetry. So I wrote mainly poetry for years and years and years and years and years, and then the day Trayvon Martin died, it switched to lyricism.
Mhm.
So you know, and then with the painting, it's just it's the equivalent of boxing to me. Like I just find it so cathartic. I find I'm just so free when I'm painting. I paint abstract art on acrylic on canvas, you know, and it's really it's a beautiful freeing feeling. And then with the writing, I mean, writing is just that's my like first baby, you know. That's like I did that automatically as a kid without even thinking, you know. That was just something that I started doing and would do it, and you know, I did nonstop. And
Mhm.
especially, you know, when you're in the hospital, you're really not allowed to have many things except sometimes a
Exactly.
pencil
Yeah.
or a pen and a notepad or some colored pencils. You know, that's pretty much
And I
all
can
you
remember.
got. So
Yeah.
you've got time to get better as a writer, unfortunately, you know.
Yeah.
So I did that. I actually used there was one time period where I was pretty pissed off about being locked up in the hospital. And I
Mm.
literally used, I was very rebellious when I was in there too. I used
Good.
a lot of times, because at certain times they kept me for so long or under certain ridiculous, you know,
Mm.
it was just so absurd where I'm like, all right, you know, like, let's do this thing. But I literally I would use every day as rehearsal. So I would spend half an hour going through like 6 songs. I remember one of them was Beyonce, Best I Never Had. Another one was Adele. Another one was this artist named Kayla. And
Okay.
I would go through this like roster of songs that I would practice my voice and I would sing at the top of my lungs in there. The top of my lungs for half an hour. I did not care that I was there. I did not care that I was in a hospital. They were interrupting my schedule where I practiced for half an hour every day at home. So guess what? I was going to practice for half an hour every day there.
Good. Good for you. Yeah.
Thank you. It felt good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure the windows didn't smash.
The windows didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't. But the acoustics are good in there. I went loud. I went very, very, very loud. I also became a tagger while I was in the hospital. I tagged everything. I literally every single wall I came to contact with, I'm like, all right, you're gonna keep me. I'm gonna ruin this place, you know. I'm just gonna like, you know, I'm gonna write on the walls, like I'm gonna like, and that's, you know, I never like broke for. I actually witnessed somebody completely destroy the he destroyed the communal area. So he broke our TV, he broke our phone, he broke our clock. He was a patient. He was having a
Hmm.
fit, and they didn't replace any of it for like quite some time. So we were without a phone, we were without a clock, we were without a TV, and this was a closed unit where pretty much like there's literally just the rooms, the kitchen, the dining room table, the nursing station, and
Was the TV like not in a box? Because like in like a lot of, well, most like England, mental units, like they put the TV behind like a big
yeah, not in
plastic
that unit. In
screen.
another unit,
No.
in two other units, there was a box, but not in that
Yeah, yeah.
unit.
Not that one, no.
Not in that unit, no. That was the like middle security unit.
Yeah, yeah,
It was still high security, but it wasn't as intense as the other one that was called high care.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the worst, yeah.
Oh yeah, high care is that's the one I was in for definitely six
Yeah.
weeks at a time on one occasion. That was pretty bad. I was in and out of touch with reality that whole time. It was
Mm.
awful. You know, there's nothing to do in there. It's very sterile. It's and like I like there's abuse that goes on. Like, you know, there's they
Mm.
get away with so much. The staff in there, they get away with so much. And you know, they're I don't know if they're not screened properly. I don't know if they're not
I
um
had this discussion today in my group, and I'm just going to say this. Even, you see, I don't think it's a human resources issue. You know, people like check DBS and stuff. I don't think it's that. I think because even if someone doesn't have a criminal record and someone has all the right qualifications and all the
mhm.
right experience, they can still be a right ass.
Oh
Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? Exactly, because it's these professions like prison officer, like mental health, care homes, you know, group homes, you know, they attract predators.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, you know, there needs to, I was thinking about this also very quite recently. I was like, there needs to be a separate evaluation for those who are interacting with that population. There has to be, because I think that, like, yes, there can be a normal human resources, fine, you know, go through the regular, but there should also be, I don't know whether it's, you know, but here's the thing. We're talking about things in a world where they actually care to put the patient first. And the
Mm,
reality of it is that the patient
they
is
don't.
literally put last,
Yes.
literally. You know, the patient becomes a liability at that point, but the patient
Yeah.
is also source. You know, the patient is the source, because without without the subject, there's nothing to talk about. There's no pills to give out. There's nobody to
Big
study, to
pharma.
monitor. There's no job. There's no psychiatry without the subject.
Mm.
Um, and, you know, I recognized that I was a very interesting subject when, you know, as anyone is, but I recognized that you know, I felt like at a certain point that my psychiatrist looked at me like I was his opponent. You know, he
Mm.
didn't look at me like this is someone I need to care for. I know what compassion looks like. I know what it
Mhm.
feels like. I know what those eyes look like. I know what that, you know, treatment is like. And honestly, one of the only people I mentioned in the documentary, I
Mhm.
trying to think of if I mentioned it. Nope, I didn't mention it in the first book. It'll definitely be
I
in the
think
second book. But when I talked about the staff member who helped
yes.
me, you know,
Yeah,
she
that
she
female one.
she
Yeah.
treated me with so much compassion, and it wasn't her job to do what she did. You know, she stepped out, like when she it was in passing that she even had the opportunity to talk to me that day, and to knock me out of that mental state where I thought that, you know, I was married to this person, and this person was my father, and that person was my sister, and, you know, I was in this alternative world that everybody was talking about behind my back, but no one was talking to me to my face. Literally no
Mm.
one. So when like it just fed into the conspiracy of it all, you know, when no one's
Mhm.
talking to you about it. But then she was willing to break that. She was willing to say, like, and she was kind to me the whole time from the moment I got there to the end. You know, she was just she was so like a divine creature in there, because it was just so rare. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. So those people, if any of them are watching this, you know, you're superstars, but all your colleagues are complete dickheads. That's facts.
Well, yeah. I've got something to say though. Back to that thing you was on about an evaluation. I I don't think that would work
I,
because
yeah.
somebody could fake that. Somebody could be like, "Oh, I care for the patients and all that," and then just be like lie, because you can actually lie on lie detectors. There's a way to do it. So it's like I think.
But don't you think, even if that's true, but don't you think
Mhm.
that there is even, you know, the fact that that safeguard should be in place, like even
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have that extra test, you know. But and also
yeah.
I
I
was
know what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, I think, yeah, I agree with it. But I'm saying that I think abuse would still happen because
I
people would
agree.
pretend. Yeah,
I agree, because you know, the people who perpetrate in there and the people who exercise evil in there, they do it quite liberally, they do it comfortably, and they do it knowing
mm,
that they're protected. They're protected
yeah.
by the hospital, the legal team. And oh,
And
you know what the
the
lawyer said?
NHS.
You know what I just remembered? I was watching the dishes earlier, and I have no idea why this came to me, but I was thinking about the hospital legal team, and
Hmm.
I remembered being in court, And it had nothing to do with the case, right? Literally nothing. And the lawyer
Mm.
goes, she was never raped. A female lawyer, she goes, she was never raped. I went like
Yeah.
this. I was actually, I was representing myself. And I was standing at that time. I turned and looked at her and I said, as a woman, you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, how dare you
Mm.
be able to, like, how can anybody say that anything that someone says happened did not, with certainty, did not take place? How can you
Mm.
say that? She's just in no position to say that. It's like me, like you just, it's not logical. It doesn't follow. Like, you can't say it did, you can't say it didn't. You weren't there. That's the
Exactly.
beginning
Yeah.
and the end of it. It's so, when things like that, they're willing to go so far to discredit, to, make the patient look a certain way, to like,
Hmm.
and it's just,
Evil.
it's evil. And yeah, and it's the first, I don't know if I mentioned this, because I've been working on so many things related to this story lately. I don't know if I mentioned this in the interview, but did I mention the first night I was locked in my room overnight? Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was when I saw evil. That was when the evil was the clearest to me. That's when I was like, oh, this is like some dark evil, like
Mm.
this is some real ish, and I was really concerned for what he might have been doing to other patients, because it's like, why are you locking me in my room? And am I next? Like, what, there's so many things going through your mind.
Mm.
But your safety is the main thing. So yeah, there's so much evil in there.
Yeah.
They just do, they do so much. There's literally, I could sound off on almost every single type of abuse.
Yeah.
Clear
Well, there
torture
is.
tactics.
I mean,
Death.
like I said in my other video, I mean, I used to say I was going to complain, and they used to like stop me from ringing my family. Like my dad, they used to like starve me sometimes. Like when certain
Yeah.
members of staff, I'm like, oh no, you're not having your dinner. Like that can go on because how can you prove that happened?
Yeah, they would use starvation too in one of
Mhm.
the hospitals also. And even like, I don't want to go into the specifics of it because I have a pretty, like an interesting story that's in my next book.
Mhm.
But yeah, they would even if they aren't doing clear starvation tactics, like it's hard to go between those, the meals are stretched out, and the day is long in there, and you're being assessed and monitored the entire day in a cold, sterile environment, and most of the time, depending on when you're there, you're wearing a hospital gown, hospital pants, maybe if you're
Mm.
lucky. Maybe you've got a hospital blanket to keep you warm.
Mm.
There's if you're lucky and you're in another unit, if you're in another unit, you might have your clothes. Or you might even in that unit have access to your clothes because you've received that privilege, and
Yeah.
you're being humanized.
Privilege. Yeah, that word.
Every
Mm.
human right is turned into a privilege in there, and they think that that'll be acceptable, and it's not. Um, and I had literally just finished my master's in human rights, so it was fresh on my brain. It was like when I went in there, I could see. I was like a walking robot of like human rights violation, human rights violation, and I would say it. I would say this is in violation of my art. This is in violation. This is like, I just, I at first I was just so, I was so astonished at this, how this place could exist, and how I
Mm.
could be here in the way that I got here. And like you said at the beginning, there's some people who they're like, oh, she must have done something, that wouldn't just happen. Or people
Mm.
believe that you have to have done something criminal for like to be
People
into
still
them. And but what
people
what
message me all
I
the time on
what
my
I,
channel. Sorry.
no, it's okay. But like what I say to that is like, cool, if you want to believe that, but you're choosing to believe the lie at that point. And
Yeah.
that makes people vulnerable, not only who are in the system, but those who will be in the future. Because when it comes to mental health, we are not prepared with a mental health education as children. We are not taught,
Mm.
in schools, we're not taught how to notice red flags in ourselves, in our friends, how to be there, how to be a compassionate person, how to be an ally. We're not taught what to do if our family members, you know, go through something. No one is taught any of this in school. And, you know, every single person on the planet has a mind. Every single person goes through, you know, emotional states that are heightened, emotional states that are lower. You know, every person, with the exception of the sociopaths, you know, experiences, you know, actual emotional changes in their life. And the fact that we're not equipped for these things, like even let's say, think about it, a breakup can be exceptionally you're single. Is that a statement or a question? Okay, so yeah, no, even a breakup can completely send you on an emotional roller coaster and almost everybody goes through a breakup, you know, but yet there's no teaching of how to react when that happens. Like I have heard stories and seen people come into the hospital, you know, maybe threatening their life because they just broke up with someone and they feel like their life is over at that point. You know, people that's an example of something that everyone goes through. A lot of people don't know how to manage, but if they were you know, if they were given the tools to be able to manage that successfully and to go through it, you know, like we're given the tools in the hospital, right? In the like there, it's not, you know, in rehab programs and, you know, in outpatient programs and groups, you know, no, I'm definitely not sending my number. But
is someone messaging you?
The chat, yeah, it's okay. I don't know who it is, but he asked if we're single, said he's single, and to give him the number, but no, sorry. Oh no, don't put your number. Don't put your number, homie. You
I've
don't
not
see
been.
this? You
Oh
don't.
no, sorry, I've not. Right, I'm gonna block these people. Sorry, I've not been seeing this.
That's
F
okay. That's okay.
F
Yeah,
F Judy, you're a fucking weirdo. Goodbye. Right, remove from live video and block.
yeah.
Right, if anyone else is you know, sending numbers and stuff, this isn't a dating site. This is quite a serious conversation about mental health and abuse. So please be respectful to
Yeah.
Arielle and myself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, things like breakups, things like deaths, things like transitions in life, you know, there's so many things that can destabilize you, but there's no like
No,
there's let's learn algebra, let's learn in the words of Tupac, let's learn volleyball. You know, like there's just so many things that we could be teaching, and you know, and that concerns me. That really, really does concern me. You know, there are a lot of great wellness and mental health and, you know, workshops and things like that that are, you know, blossoming. But I really think that schools need to have that. It needs to be a part of the curriculum. It needs,
yeah,
because that's how you prevent. That's preventative
yes,
medicine. And, you know, the mind it's a part of, you know, the body, and medicine is responsible for healing that in Western society, right? That's basically that's what it is. It's and the authority, the way that psychiatry and the criminal system, I should say the legal system, are so enmeshed, makes it so that they are the authority, and they have to be the authority, because look at the consequences if you don't follow their word. If you don't listen to them, then you're criminalized. You know, then you've crossed a criminal. And I don't know. I don't think I mentioned this the last time, but I find it hilarious because in when the security would take us out, the orderly would take us out for smoking breaks. He would always glue himself to me. Right? We'd be like 4 or 5 of us, but I was always had the security right by me. And I noticed this right away. And I'm like, dude, I'm not running. Like, though in my head, I never said it once. I let them waste their time, right? But the whole time I'm like, I'm not running. And sure enough, someone ran one of those times and got away because the dumb orderly was watching me instead of watching the dude who had no shoes, because they didn't give him shoes because he was potentially a runaway. You know, like, but they're watching me, who's never going to run because I'm too logical for that, even under the drugs that they're forcing me to take. You know, and it's look, they get it wrong. They waste their time. They waste people's time. They waste people's lives, and they
Mhm.
steal from people's lives. They steal their quality of life. They steal their joy. They steal their time. They steal their happiness. And there's no quality. There's very little quality of life inside a psychiatric facility. Your life is determined by the psychiatrist and the team. Everything to the day is scheduled to a T, and it's up to them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I can relate to that. I went through it. I mean, my best friend is going through it right now. I mean, I'm just grateful that she's allowed out at the moment. She's allowed 4 hours a day.
That's nice.
Um,
Those were
it is,
huge. Those
but
were so important.
it's taken her years to get that. Do you know what I mean? Because before she was just locked up in a room and that was that. But now, like I said before, people end up staying longer than they need to in those places because of red tape. Because she shouldn't be there. Even when I speak to the staff said, "Oh, you know, she's only here because there's not another place to go to."
Yeah. Remember last time when I mentioned there was a loop, that could be a loophole?
It is. It's like a housing because
Hold on.
you know.
There was something that I didn't mention. Where we started talking about something else, so it didn't, I didn't say it. But when
Okay.
I was hospitalized in New York City as well. And
Mhm.
when I was hospitalized in one of the hospitals, part of the issue in releasing me was I didn't have an address to go to. I wasn't a
Because you're
resident.
homeless, yeah.
So what happened was I negotiated. I was relentless. I did not stop advocating for myself. I negotiated with the hospital staff in my immediate unit, and I told them,
Mhm.
please get me a meeting with like the board, or please get me a meeting. I don't remember who these people were. I'm like, please get me a meeting with the executives. I don't know who they were, right? Um, but I ended up having a meeting they brought us into the art room, and it was because
Mm.
there was a big table in there. It was me and like 10 people from the hospital. So like some people on my immediate team, and then some people, I don't know who they were. I don't remember.
Mhm.
But I had to like negotiate my way out of this hospital and like explain to them that I would be fine and like what my plan was when I left and blah, blah, blah. And I got
Mhm.
out. They let me out. Yeah. So it's possible. That's why I said it's a loophole, because it's like they can say that, but in reality, like and if that's the case, then they must solve it immediately, because
Yeah, it's
stealing
them.
someone's quality of life and saying, oh, we don't have anywhere to release them, is kind of like not putting out a book because one comma is out of place.
I agree to an extent, but I don't fully agree on that
Okay.
because in the UK they are shutting the services down. Especially, like I said, this government's quite evil, so they're shutting a lot of places down. Let's say, I mean, I've got a couple of friends that were in prison. I've been in prison as well, and most recently, someone came out of a prison, and she's still got drug tendencies, and the place, there's less places now for drug and alcohol, so she just went into you know, a hostel, a homeless hostel with drug people. So
Yeah.
it's like there's the services that used to be there being shut down. So
Well,
it's like, do you understand
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like, I
100%.
can kind of understand in that sense why the hospital keep people. They shouldn't, but
Yeah.
they can't just build a service. You know what I'm saying?
Well, 100%. That's the thing.
Mm.
That's what I'm saying is like, if they have that problem, it's their responsibility to figure it
Yeah,
out. It's their
it is.
responsibility. Like, it's on, like, you can't hold people for years and steal their lives and steal their quality of life while they're
I
in there,
agree.
because that person is going to have to recover from the trauma of being inside there after for years.
Mm.
So to steal their time in the first place in the way that the hospitals do, because they're unfortunately not as good at their job as they think they are, and then
Yeah.
to at the end of it say, oh, we're not going to let you out because we're so bad at our job that we have nowhere for you to go. It's just an extra,
Mm.
like it's an extra slap in the face, you know
Slap in
what I
the
mean?
yeah.
But
Mm.
it's people's real lives, and like, I don't
Mhm.
care when people doubt my story. I don't
Mhm.
care. It doesn't matter to me, because the labels associated with me, number one, aren't true. So you know, like, and the whole thing wasn't so why am I going to care about a lie? Like, what is there when, especially when the truth is so powerful, like, who cares about a
Exactly.
lie, you know? And the fact is, like, if you, oh, don't believe me, cool, go to your nearest hospital, figure out where the psych ward is, and just have a peek in. There's normally two slits, you know, there's normally two you can go up to like the doors normally, like, check it out, just have a go. Or don't believe me, check out another documentary. Don't believe me, you know, like, and check out that my story is so similar to other people's stories. If it,
Yeah.
you know, and it really doesn't bother me, the haters and the trolls and whoever, they really don't bother me, because what actually bothers me is the people who are in the hospital right now and shouldn't be. That can keep me up at night, not the trolls. The trolls wish they could keep me up at night like that. Like, that's like, they you know, once you've experienced something as cruel as having your time stolen to be experimented on, you know, and had your life tampered with for things that are you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. Once that's happened, you don't want it to happen to other people, and you very often become an advocate for those same people. So, you know, it doesn't really faze me, especially, you know, once you make a hashtag Me Too claim against someone, once you claim, you know, you say that, make an allegation of sexual assault, once that happens, things are, you know, you have to get comfortable with people saying that a lot of things that are pretty awful. But at the end of the day, like, I'd rather come out with it and say that something happened to me than, you know, and then watch another woman struggle in her healing. Like, if I figured out certain things about my path of healing and I'm 10 years down the line, 12 years down the line from it, you know, and then I can tweet that out, or I can write it in a book, or I can put it in a documentary, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to give, I can swear on this, I'm not going to give two F's about, you know, about who that offends, because I'm offending the wrong people, and the right people are paying attention.
Yep, exactly. So someone's not sent a message, have they?
Sorry?
Has someone sent a nasty message, or?
No, I don't see one.
Right, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't
I've
see
not
it.
even been looking at the chat, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Right.
Yeah. But, you know, there's too much, in the way I see it, there's just too much work to be done. Like, there's a lot of work to be done.
Like, there's a lot of similarities that go on in the prison system as well. Like I said, you know, it's a case of, I think, like I said in one of my videos, I mean, my experience in prison was better than a mental hospital. And that's shocking, but it's true. I'd rather be in prison, because at least you get more rights. At least, you know, yeah, fair enough, you can't ring who you want, it gets put on a PIN code. But at least then you know that you're going to get it. Do you know what I mean? At least then you know that you're going to get meals, because they bring them to your room. But in a mental hospital, it really just depends on what doctor's on that day.
Yeah, it's all about the staff that's working that shift. It's all about, you know, they all have that similarity where your rights go out the window. Honestly, who you are, depending on the jurisdiction that you're in, what documentation you have to prove who you are, the family, you know, testimony, friend testimony, you know, all these things matter. And I just think, yeah. Sorry, you were gonna say?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. If you're homeless in this country, a lot of the time, you can't even access healthcare, you can't access mental services. I've noticed sometimes, I mean, when I was in prison, I witnessed, and there's a lot of documentaries about this, people deliberately committing crimes so they can go to prison and then get, you know, a hot meal and a shower and a bed.
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, and then they get released to nothing. And then so they deliberately do it. I mean, it's a case. I mean, there's homeless beggars in Leeds in this area. Excuse me. And, you know, they even said it, you know, why should I just sleep on street corners where I could be in prison? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's loopholes throughout the whole system. And those people most likely have mental health problems, and they're not getting help because they don't have an address.
Well,
Or deep?
there's a great I think it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter Bernice, who she put out a video kind of recently, and I think she was talking about you know, how the good, or I don't know if it was specifically from this video. For some reason I think it's from her, but
Mm-hmm.
basically the concept of how, you know, the good needs to organize as bad as the evil, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
those. And I think about that constantly. I really, really do, because you know, the evil, you know, really has it down pat. You know, they got a whole system. It's called capitalism. You know, it's in place. You know, it's all good. But you know, it comes to a point where, you know, what we know and what you and I have witnessed is the underbelly that's in plain sight. We've
Mm-hmm.
witnessed, you know, something that is in every single hospital, but
Yeah.
only if you're privy to have been a victim of it, or a family member, or a friend and a visitor, or an employee. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the only ways that you're going to know about it, really, because unless you've actually been to a psych ward, and not in visiting hours. In visiting hours, everything's like la la la. Everything's like
Mm-hmm.
happy go lucky in visiting hours. And as soon as visiting hours are over, it's like back to the, I call it, I actually sometimes call the hospital the war home, the psych ward. I actually, one time I was out for dinner on a date years ago, and I was talking about it, and it slipped out of my mouth, the war home, when I, instead of psych ward, instead of calling it the hospital or the psych ward, I called it the war home. And I was just like, wow, that is so deep. That came so far from deep in my soul. I'd never even thought that term before, but that's what it was. It was a war home.
I call it torture chambers in my book.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That torture chambers. It's definitely a torturous place. It's definitely
Yeah.
not. It's not. And like by definition of what torture is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not like being metaphorical, like literally physically torture. And it's wrong. It's just it's plain wrong. It's not a reflection of the best in our society. It's literally the exact mirror of, I think, our worst.
And what worries me the most, and why I'm so passionate about having these conversations, is the fact that it is getting worse here in the UK. Like I said, people in my group, my Fighting for Better Mental Health Services group, you know, there's people that have been taken to court for ringing the police. You know, people are being sent to court for ringing the crisis teams too much. People are getting sent to court for attempting suicide. And it's like, I've seen it gradually get worse. You know, I'm 28 years old this year, and I've seen it get worse. And I feel like I've witnessed the worst of humanity, and I need to at least speak about it, because I was actually told, you know, I was told to keep my mouth shut. You know, when I was
Yeah,
in these places, you know, you was as well. It's like, you know, the staff used to do unspeakable, well, not unspeakable, but, you know, things that I'm not going to say on Instagram. And, you know, they used to say, oh, well, when I said, right, I'm going to put a complaint in, they used to laugh. One of them, his name was Nick, and he used to go, huh, try it, see what happens.
yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, no.
I believe that. I definitely. I remember there was this one guy, when I was in psych emerge. I was in the emergency room, and he was pushing a bed by where I was walking, and he was kind of
Hmm.
blocking where I was going. And I think I was going to the water fountain. It was not an
Mm-hmm.
emergency at all, but I was going to the water fountain. And when I walked by him, he like kept blocking my way, and I was like, "Can you move?" Or like I said something like, "Can you?" Like I was like, "I don't understand what you're doing." And the guy grabs my hand and says, I know who you are. I know how to deal with a woman like you. Like grabs my arm like this.
Right.
So I put my arm on the bed, and I jumped. Like I jumped over it to get to the other side to get to the water fountain, and I just like went like
Yeah.
this. But I remember that guy's name. I'm not gonna say it. I remember so many of these people's names. Like, and that's why, like, Oh my God, there was actually this one time. Oh, this is horrific. I'm gonna say it because I haven't thought of it in a while, and I want to put it in my book, and I will.
Say what you want, honestly.
Yeah, but there was this one time where I was going to court, and I was in the hospital, and I was outside of the hospital doors, and it was sunny, right? And I hadn't seen sun in so long. And the woman that I was with, the who was escorting me, we got outside, and I asked her if I could leave, right? I literally asked, can I go? Like, can I just not go to court? And can I like leave, right? And she said, yeah. She said this, but she verbally said and gave me consent to leave, right? So in my state, I'm like, sweet, the staff member, you know, everything is up to them, you know, and this, I'm gonna do. I start walking, you know, slowly off the property. Sure enough, I get a code white. I get what's the word?
Restrained, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm trying. There's like tackled almost, like brought down to the ground by like 8 men. And it was to the point where one of them was on my arm, and I started screaming, "You're going to break my arm! You're going to break my arm!" Because I knew that he didn't care that he was hurting me. Because at first I was saying, "You're hurting me," but then I was like, "You're going to break my arm," and meaning that will leave a cast and that will leave evidence, you know. So he stopped, he let up, and then they attached me to a bed, they rolled me through the hospital, they brought me upstairs. And that day was the day, and I was out of it. Like they well, not out of it yet. They gave me a code white. They gave me an injection, and that day is the day where the main doctor for the entire psych ward, like for all the wards, all the units, I mean, for the entire psych ward, that's the only day he met with me and wrote a report on me. And that was the report that, like, after I had been beat up downstairs, after I'd been brought upstairs and code whited and was in the phase of like passing out, that's when he actually sat down with me and observed me. So, and that was one of the most important things that went to court. You know, so it's just like, should I have walked off the property? No, I shouldn't have, but was I listening to them? Yes. And was I doing what I supposedly, you know, like thought was allowed? Yes, in that moment. But was I in the 100% right mind? Like, I can't say. I really can't say, because there were so many times when I was in the hospital where I was out of touch with reality that I don't know what it was, you know, what that day particularly was. But I do remember, because I remember I didn't remember that doctor had met with me. I just remember seeing the report. And I was like, I never met with him. And they were like, yeah, you did that day. I was like, that day? That's the day he went in? You know, like the whole time of the, God knows, hundreds of days they've had me in their custody. This is the day that guy decides to show up. Like, so, you know, it's not, the entire thing is not, it's designed to keep you in there for as long as they can use you, and for as long as they, you know, they deem it appropriate in their favorite terminology.
I might call my memoir that inappropriate.
It writes itself. I remember they would always, I wanted to say this before too, you know, he would always tell me that I was dressed inappropriate. Go change, you're dressed inappropriate. Go change, you're dressed inappropriate, right? So when we got to court, the same day he said that I was married to Jay-Z, he goes, and she dresses very appropriately. I was like, huh? Which one is it? Do I dress inappropriate or appropriate? Because you're telling this judge I dress appropriately all the time, but you keep telling me behind closed doors I don't. So it's just,
yeah.
Whatever narrative fits. That's how it works. Whatever narrative fits, for sure.
Well, do you want to talk a little bit about your music? I mean,
yeah, sure.
You've got new music coming out, and obviously I mean, maybe in the future I'll go back to rapping as well, because I mean, you sound a bit like Bear God.
Sorry?
I said you sound a bit like a rapper called Bear God.
Oh, that's cool. Well, yeah, no, I definitely, I have a song coming out very soon. It's called Sex Ed. It's
Hmm.
a really, I worked really hard on it. I built it from scratch. I made the beat. I wrote the songs, practiced, I've been in the studio working on it. It's not fully done yet, but it's almost there. Um, Now I've just been working on it behind, closed doors, but it's a really, it's kind of, and the I just got the artwork for the single, and it's really great. So I'm really looking forward to just releasing the whole thing. I think it's gonna be awesome. But yeah, no, music is everything to me. It's my, like I said, it's my therapy, but it's also something that I take exceptionally seriously outside of my therapy. It's really, I would encourage anybody listening, if you are struggling mentally and you have a creative outlet, harness that, nurture that. Or if you don't have a creative outlet, but there's something that you've always wanted to try, whether it's knitting, whether it's you know I don't know, they're like sculpture, it could be so many different things. Whatever it is, give it a try, because chances are that thing will be this outlet, this therapeutic outlet that you can literally take your emotions and create them. You can literally feel them and see them outside of you, and and then you have something that represents what you went through. Like Michelle does these great drawings that they're a reflection, they're clearly a reflection of like what's going on inside with certain things, and my
Hmm.
art's the same way.
Thank
My
you.
art's, yeah, it's very expressive, and it says something. And one of the things about my paintings is they all emit an emotion. They
Yeah.
all are about a time, they all are about a moment, and they're all an emotion. And I think that I'm really fortunate, even though in certain ways, success wise, in the traditional ways, success, the way that success is seen, I might not have achieved certain things in life that others would deem successful with that. But
Well,
for
if you're
me,
happy, if
but
you're happy,
a
and if you
hundred,
feel,
yeah, 100%. That's what it's about. It's about 100%. Just like I feel and know that I'm following the right path with doing these, with indulging in my creativity. I know
yeah,
that. There's
mhm,
no part of me that says the way what you're doing right now is not good for your path. There is no part of me that says that. If anything, it's like I get on myself for like, okay, you haven't painted in a couple weeks, so and I actually didn't paint in a couple of weeks, and then I painted Hero, which, like, I'm getting messages from people saying, "Oh my God, this one's my favorite," So that's great, but like I'm just gonna keep going, and on to the next one, on to the next hero. So art has really given me a lot. Art has given me the chance to breathe. It's given me the chance to get in touch with who I am. Um, you know, uh, and to really care for myself too. I think that art is one of the things that I really do for myself that shows me on a regular basis that I love myself for sure.
good, good for
Yeah.
you. Because I found that people that have been through, traumatic experiences, they do tend to, that, I can't get the words out really. It's there's always a reason, because most of the people that I speak to that are singers or that are artists or whatever, they've been through a trauma, and then it brings out creativity. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think especially when you've been through trauma, the reason why I love Article 19 is because it allows you to express yourself. It protects you to express yourself. There's so much to say. There's so much to express. There's so much to get outside of you. Like, and it doesn't have to be in spoken form to a therapist in a session where you're sitting down and crying about your past.
Mhm.
Therapy looks very different to a lot of different people. Like if I didn't make time to go to the studio, if I didn't set aside that time to actually get in the studio and record, I wouldn't feel you know, I would feel like something was missing, something was off, you know, I wouldn't feel whole. I wouldn't feel
Mhm.
complete if I didn't get that sound, you know, where it's like my, you know, when those headphones go on and you're in front of the really dope the microphone, you know, and my engineer comes on and he says like, "Are you ready?" You know, like if I didn't get that experience, I would probably be suffering to a certain extent. It's like my therapy when I can't go in for therapy, I go to the studio, like I make sure that I'm singing, that I'm rapping, you know. If I can't make it to therapy, I make sure that I'm painting, singing, and writing, you know. Like I make sure that these things they're not institutionalized, they're in the routine of my life, where I have it so that, you know, like I said last time, it's like I'm a little magnet for all my artistic outlets. Like I just vibe towards them, and whichever one I feel like doing, I do. And
Mm.
you know, and when I'm supposed to do it, I do it.
What DAW are you using at the moment?
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. What software are you using? What production software are you using at the moment?
Garage band.
Mm.
Yeah,
Goodbye, goodbye,
I'm new.
Arielle.
I'm new though. I'm really really new, and I like the thing is, I'm the type of person with anything that I do, with painting also. Once I
Mhm.
master that, then I move on to something else, right? So like right now, I'm like I'm not even close to having mastered GarageBand. So once I'm like at a certain place with GarageBand, then I'll move on to something else. But as of right now, like it's just garage band. That's where I started, and that's but like even my painting tools, I haven't switched up my painting tools because I, you know, once I found a mastery of those with those tools, I just wanted to continue to nurture instead of switching to like, let's say, oil paints, or you know, a different type of canvas, or you know, I just I like once I get to that point where I feel like I'm advanced or expert or whatever, that's when I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, I go a bit further with that, but then I'm like, maybe I'll try something new at that point.
I was only teasing anyway. I mean, for me, I used to use Fruity Loops, FL Studio, but I've never tried GarageBand.
Oh, it's good.
Um,
It's good. It's very, I like, look, it took me years to figure out properly. So to say, you know, it's easy is kind of like minimizing it, but,
if it's user friendly, that's the main thing. I mean,
it
FL
is
Studio,
I find it user friendly. Yeah, I definitely find it user friendly. And I like my engineer knows the beat that I'm using. He was like, "You made this on GarageBand?" I'm like, "Yeah." And yeah, he's like, "Okay, you know, all right, like that's cool."
it's just like I said, I'll be a fan for a long time because, like you're hip hop as well, and I absolutely love my hip hop. I mean, yeah. You
Yeah, hip
mentioned
hop is
Jay-
great. Hip
you
hop is
mentioned Jay,
sorry.
you mentioned Jay-Z, and I mean, he probably is in one of my top five rappers of all time. I mean, for me, I like Reasonable Doubt, obviously, good album. Volume One afterwards, good. I wasn't actually keen on Hard Not Life. Volume Three, The Life and Times of S. Carter. It's got the the song Things That You Do, Mariah Carey. I like that song.
Mm-hmm.
Just going through all the albums. The number four, The Dynasty, then the Blueprint
Yeah.
2, Black Album. Uh,
My favorite Jay-Z albums would have to be Reasonable Doubt, The Blueprint, and maybe Watch the Throne.
yes, I like What's the Throne.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
been listening
I'm
to
not.
Watch the Throne lately again, and it actually reminds me of the hospital because I listened to it a lot when I was in the hospital at one point.
Mhm.
But the songs on there are just like it's definitely one of the best collab albums of all time for sure.
Yeah,
For sure, for sure. But my top five is more like I don't know, my top five kind of always so there's always Tupac, number one. Tupac from the jump will always be there. So Tupac, I'd say Lauryn Hill, Tupac, Lauryn Hill. Mm, okay, I'll just go with what my instincts are. The Roots,
I like
uh,
The Root.
Yeah, they're
think
not like it's hard. Well, when I say the Roots, I guess I mean like as far as an MC, like it's really Black Thought. When
yeah.
Black Thought gets on the mic, it's always like, you know. But the Roots as a collective are just so talented. So
Have you,
Lupe
have you got
Fiasco
have you got
and
Phrenology? Because that's a good album.
yeah,
Phrenology
of
by the
course,
Roots.
that's classic.
Yeah.
But Lupe Fiasco is another one,
Yes.
and I would say for my fifth, this is like like I have like my top five, and then I have like my top five of the newer generation. You know, like I have,
Yes.
but and then for that fifth slot, I'd say I don't know, he's new generation, but I'm gonna add him, Dave East.
Oh, yeah. I like Dave East.
Yeah, I really like outside of the top five. I'd say I really like Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace. I'm really into his stuff.
Yes. Yes. Marathon continues, man.
Yeah. I'm really into Nipsey. I love Lotto. She's really dope. I love her sound. Coi Leray is cool. I like let's see, from the on the men's side, the new guys. Dave East is dope. Nipsey and I don't know. Cole is great. I can't take away from him. He's incredible. Kendrick,
The
definitely. Kendrick is incredible.
new
And
album dropping on May the 12th, I think.
yeah, it's soon. It's very soon. So yeah, that's gonna be great. The whole world is waiting on that album for sure.
Yes.
Highly anticipated album. Um, and yeah, oh, Remy Ma for sure.
Okay.
And yeah, that I have like I could talk hip hop for it got me through so much, you know, and I'm sure the
Same.
same is for you too. Like, and you know,
Yeah.
it really got me through so much. Like whether I was, you know, indulged in rapping or listening to music, like listening to music just it really, you know, and it was my escape. Anytime, any chance I got to listen to a song in there, really was whether it was on the TV, whether I got access to my smartphone for a bit, whether it was on the computer, you know, any chance I got in the library, any chance I got to listen to music, I took it.
Can I tell you my top five? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Right. Well, Little Wayne. I like Little Wayne. I like Lloyd Banks because
Nice.
I think out of G Unit, I think Lloyd Banks is a better lyricist. I quite like at the minute I've been listening to Dave East as well. I quite
Oh,
like
nice.
Paranoia, that mixtape. Um,
He released a really good album recently. Did you hear it? How Did I Get Here?
I've not listened to the new album. I've listened
Okay,
to
you know his song Handsome that he did
yeah,
okay, so Handsome, I just watched an interview of his. Handsome, he was produced by these guys, I think their name's Mike and Keys, and he did all they also produced the songs that Davies did with Nipsey Hussle,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they he I was like listening to this new album How Did I Get Here, which I think he released last month, and I was listening to it and I was like, yo, this sound is crazy. Like he's really on
Mm,
something with this new album. And then in the
mm,
interview, he mentioned that the whole album is produced by Mike and Keys. The entire album is that sound. So it's beautiful. It's a really nice album. I highly recommend it. And especially if you're into him, definitely give it a
mhm.
listen.
I like the one with the white cover as well. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kyrie Chanel, is it?
Yeah. I think so.
That that's a good album as well. And the one where he's got Nas, he collabed with Nas on one of the tracks.
Oh,
The one before,
The Hated.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great.
Um, oh God, I like Lupe Fiasco as well. I
Oof,
like
so good.
Food and Liquor. I like the Cool. I wasn't keen on Lasers. Lasers was a bit of a letdown.
Everyone
Um,
liked Lasers, but Lasers came out while I was writing my thesis. It was so clutch, and I listened to it the whole time.
it's
It was perfect.
it's got a few good tracks on it, like All Black Everything. I like the John Legend collab, but my favorite one is probably the Cool, the
Yeah,
second one.
that's pretty classic. My favorite Lupe project is actually Friend of the People.
Okay.
Yeah, Light Work is my favorite song of his. Out of all of his music, Light Work is just it's heaven to me. But yeah, I absolutely love that album. That mixtape. It was really really powerful, I find, when it came out. But the female artists are doing their thing now. I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that, like, there's so many talented women rappers out there. Nicki, first of all, I was listening to Monster. I was listening to Kanye's album,
Mm.
Dark Twisted Fantasy, and Monster with Hove, Kanye, Rick Ross, I think, is on it, and Bonnie Bear. But
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows Monster for Nicki's verse where she just snaps. And it's like, I'm listening to this song and I'm listening to Nicki, and I'm like, she literally overtook everyone on this song. Like, you've got Jay-Z on here, you've got Kanye on here, like, and she blows them all out the water. And it's the way that she leans into the character that she's
Mm.
embodying, the emotion that she's releasing on Monster, like, 2 albums rap, like, she's just like, she's going insane and she's just snapping. And, like, I wish more women would care less about, like, looking cute on a record and would just, like, scream, I scream on Side Effect, but, like, no, I don't actually scream, but, like, Side Effects is like, it's this energy, it just comes at you, it's like rap god, it's like, it's literally like Eminem, like, and I'm like going, the way Eminem just plays with things, like, you don't hear that
Mm.
as much with women rappers, because women, like, we especially heterosexual women, we are often, I'm bi, but, like, women who are, let's say, care about the male gaze,
Mm-hmm.
very often will act in, like, will be hesitant to show certain sides, but I
Yeah.
think that, like, even Cardi is a really good example of someone who doesn't care what she sounds like. She'll like cackle or something, she'll go, like, she's fully she fully embodies, like, whatever she's leaning into. And I think that, I know that when they cross those boundaries and when they do those things, it allows us to, it inspires and allows us to do that too. And I think that's one of my favorite things, about hip hop, especially with women, is
Mm-hmm.
when a woman will talk about something that hasn't been talked about on a track before, or
Mm-hmm.
does cross a certain line socially, and that then makes it, and if that song gets popular, and that
Mm-hmm.
then makes it almost okay, and like, palatable for you to
Mm-hmm.
then cross that line too, or for people to accept when you did cross that line previously, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I love that about hip hop. I love that, where it's like, that it's kind of like this sport where, like, everybody's just kind of, like, feeding off of each other, in certain ways, and growing.
Mm.
And I
I
think
love
I
the
think it's
I
cool.
love the motivational talks like Ace Hood. I mean, I quite like Ace Hood. I don't know if you know the rapper. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know
of
if you,
course. Yeah, I'm very, yeah,
yeah,
I know, yeah.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not keen on the homophobia. I don't like that, but not every rapper's like that. But I
Yeah,
don't like that. But the motivation is what I like about hip hop. The
yeah.
fact that it's like striving for better. Most definitely. Believe it or not, I used to listen to Korn and heavy metal and Payable on Death and Black Sabbath and all that. But it's gone the other way now. I can't.
Well,
I still listen to Korn. Do you know what I mean? I still like Korn.
I
Yeah.
still listen to Linkin Park sometimes. I need to listen to Numb sometimes. There's no other song like it. But one
Seen them
thing that
twice.
one thing that about hip hop for me is, hip
Hmm.
hop taught me that I was beautiful. That's what hip hop taught me. I really got the message from hip hop, that it, like, life is more like in music. I got the message from hip hop that you know, in terms of the conscious hip hop that I tend to listen to, or like have
Hmm.
listened to over time, I think that there's this like really important message, and a lot, especially in like Tupac's work, you know, in
Hmm.
definitely in J. Cole's work,
Yep.
in Lupe's work for sure. You know, it's like there's an emphasis on character over, you know, superficiality. And
Yes.
I think that, you know, Tupac, even in an interview, he said, you know, if his family had been, you know, like assessed or whatever, labeled because of their character, then they, you know, they'd be rich. Like basically saying like, or if it was down to like, if kind people, like if your kindness delegated, you know, whether or not you had money, then his family would be rich, you know, but that's not the world that
Mm.
we live in. And that's just like, he always emits that message in every song, you know, it's always there. Like he's just always got that message of, you know, even like there's you know, like what's it called, keep your head up, you know, like that, that's such a anthem for, you know, when things get dark, you know. And the thing is, it's like artists and musicians, they have a very heavy task to take on, because, you know, I see all the time with some of the bigger celebrities, and definitely some of the newer rappers who are gaining fame, you
Hmm.
know, a lot of them are struggling with some of these trolls, because trolls are real, and they're there for the sole purpose to tear you down, you know. And normally they're an egghead with a name and 10 numbers after, you know, and that person is going to negate your entire life experience just because they can, you know, and because somebody employs them to do so. um
Hmm.
you know, most of these accounts, a lot of these accounts are organized. A lot of these accounts are there for the pure intention to tear people down, and it's
Evil.
just it's yeah, and it's not, and a lot of the, you know, when it floods you, like a lot of these celebrities get flooded with stuff, it's like they're dehumanized, you know. And like I'm
Mm.
guilty of it too, you know, when I was in that state where I thought this, you know, I thought that these were my close people, right? Like I didn't, in that mental state when I was in that alternative reality, I thought that these were my people. So I, you know, I went about, like I communicated to them like I knew them, but
Mm.
I don't know you. Unless you actually know someone personally, you don't know someone. So whole fan bases will, you know, invade, like the Beehive will, or you know, the I don't know what the Nicki Minaj fan base is called, but like basically whole fan
Not me.
bases,
I'm not
they
keen
will
on the music.
they will flood your mentions. You know, they'll completely break you apart in whatever ways that they can. They'll tear you apart in the most obvious ways that they can, just to bring you down, for the sole purpose of bringing you down. And it's not, you know, and then people say like, oh, they're a celebrity, they knew what they were getting into, right? Or oh,
Mm.
they're you know, they're an artist, they should know this comes with the package. It's like, well, they're still human beings. You
Yeah,
know, why should anyone be subjected to abuse, and why should abuse be the side order to the main attraction? Why
exactly.
should
Yeah.
that, you know what, there's no reason why it should be like this. And a lot of these anyways, they're it's just not, it's not right. Like it's really, it's not
No,
right.
I mean,
Cyberbullying.
it's no, I mean, last year, when Marcus Rashford and a couple of other black footballers missed the penalties, they were given so much racist abuse online. It made the
I
headlines.
remember.
It was absolutely disgusting. But England is quite a racist country.
Yeah.
I'm not. Um, but yeah, I expected it though. I didn't think anything. I didn't think, oh, it's a surprise, because they just do what they can to break people.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to get into too much on that. I mean, I'm not going to be rude, but I'm getting quite tired.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, that, thank you so much for
No, but
having
I
me
want to
again.
quickly talk about your talents before the end. Um, so yeah, for the people that are going to be watching this on YouTube, I put the link in the description to Arielle's music. Check it out. She's on Spotify, she's on SoundCloud. You know, the book, which I've almost read. I'm not going to say too much. It is written as a memoir. Do You See You? can be quite dark at times. But yeah, I really think you should check it out. I'll always keep promoting Arielle because she's a proud advocate of mental health. She's a survivor of the mental health system, and she's a genuine human being. So yeah, yeah, that's that.
Thank you, Michelle. That was really beautiful. Thank you. This whole conversation has been beautiful. I look forward to our future ones, and I'm so happy that we connected because you're a remarkable human being. So thank you again for having me on your platform, and you go get some rest because it's late in England.
It's midnight now, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, but it's important these conversations because I got well, not upset, but I got a bit angry earlier because I shared a post in my group, the Fighting for Better Mental Health Services group, and I had to delete somebody because someone goes, "Oh, you have, like I said, oh, well, you must be a criminal to be in there for all those years, don't give me that shit." And that's, like I said, it
Yeah,
set me.
like there's so many, honestly, there's it's white noise, like just what you gotta block and remove, which you did.
Mhm.
So that's the best thing that you can do. Like, we know the truth about what is going on inside these places, that once we're at the reason why there's not a whole horde of people talking about it is because you're so silenced by the trauma and the abuse that you
Yeah.
experienced in there.
And people get
But
threats.
yeah, and
People
people
get
get direct
threatened.
threats. Yeah, and they get threatened not to talk,
Yes.
in both direct and indirect ways. And then even if it's not even if it's not said out loud to you not to talk, like, trust me, people are the fear that they instill in these in patients is just it's huge. So I think that it's important that we talk about it, and I'm going to keep talking about it. You keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
I'm,
we'll definitely talk again. I'm super
I'm
happy we
gonna
did this again.
I'm gonna go back to rapping. I mean, I'm not sure when, but I mean, I will one day, definitely.
Sweet.
Um,
I can't wait to hear what you put out and what you're working on.
Bit embarrassed at the moment about it.
Why?
I just am, With my writing, it's different, but like with my rapping, I don't know. I just get a bit embarrassed.
It's okay. Do you know what? If it's like, if you're feeling that way, honestly, practice. Certain things, like songs like Side Effects, don't just
Mm.
happen. Like, I did, first of all, that I had that first verse for, I think, over 2 years by the time I recorded it. Just because the song didn't come together properly until the end with the beat and whatever. But I literally was able to rap like that, because
Mm.
I was practicing in the shower. I was practicing, so just keep going, keep doing your lyrics over and over again. Repetition and practice is, the best thing. And I think you're going to kill it when you come out.
Well, I've done rapping in the past. I did a
Yeah.
separate channel, but I deleted it because like I said, the trolls got to me. But I've got a few raps on this channel, but I've put them on. I don't think you can see them. I'm not sure.
I saw one. It's called Mental Hospital.
Oh, I don't even. That was years ago. I was only 20.
I saw it was years ago. I can't, but it was like, it was artistic. It was good. Like, it had a vibe to it. I liked it.
No.
I liked it, but I have faith that you have the passion and, like, just
Mhm.
put in the work, and then it meshes together.
It will, yeah, definitely. Right, like I said, I need to focus on my writing at the moment, but maybe in
Yeah,
the future I will. Maybe in the future, definitely.
yeah,
Um, but no, yeah, it's been nice chatting, and I'm gonna
awesome.
go and download this because it takes. My computer will probably blow up again, like it did before.
It's all good. Take your time. I'll be here.
All right. Well, I'm gonna send you a message now. Anyway, I've got some things I need to tell you about that YouTube thing. But yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
All right. Goodbye,
See you
people. Good
later.
night.
Bye. Good night. I think we're still here. I'm leaving when you leave.